Life imitates art. Life is the very life of life, and in it lie all the verities of your existence. If you would only exist in the present moment, understanding these moments are moment to moment, which means you need to articulate behavior that graphs each second. Sometimes we pause for climax, but what's climatic about this climb is the fact that we don't fall, even when it seems like we should be buried under. See, burying and planting look exactly the same, but the intentionality is different. So what you thought you buried, you actually planted, and those seeds bloom. See, they grew in depth, deep down, nurturing a foundation that is bolted in the essence of greatness. And it produces something that bursts through the very ground that was thought to be a plague to the rest of the earth. No, not us. See, we have unearthed a reservoir of dedication, determination, and yet we rise still.
Black Bridges came at first as a podcast. It was me, my friend Ikeria, and Carrington. And we were discussing as far as topics on what we would talk about as far as diversity within theater. But for some reason that fell through. And probably like a year later, I just made the decision after being in, a show called Fabulation and then doing Kinky Boots, that we really didn't have something like this going on as far as these type of stories being told in a showcase for us as people of color. So I decided to put my director hat on. I stopped second guessing myself and I said, I'm gonna step up to the plate and do what has not been done. So that's how Black Bridges came to be.
My name is Nyasha Vanessa Majangara, and I am an actress, a photographer, and a daughter of the diaspora.
I'm Julian Van Dyke. I'm an artist. I write children's books. I've done several murals in the city of Lansing and just enjoying life.
My name is Carrington Kelsey. I hail from the east side of Detroit, 7 Mile, Vetter Mile all day, east side kid. And at the end of the day, I am just someone who's deeply invested in my community. I've been a community organizer since I was 13. I've been helping building different forms of policy, working with the BREATHE Act, all the way to building student and community power. I'm someone who loves people and want the best for people that looks like me.
My name is Adam Bonham, and I am a lifelong creative. Before I even became familiar with the term, I did cheer, dance, ice skating, gymnastics, West African dance, Zumba.
I'm Nankiria Blocker. I'm a singer, I'm an actress, I'm a dancer, child of God. Amen.
My name is Kamara Miller-Drain. I see myself primarily as a writer, director, and an actress.
First and last name, Sydney Sauceda. I am a multiracial. I'm an actor. I'm a chosen father. I am a husband, and I am a self-proclaimed champion of the downtrodden.
My name is Janelle Hall. I am a teacher, a mama, a dancer when my knees allow it, singer, poet.
My name is Ellison Hall. I'm 13 years old. I go to Waverly High School. I'm an actor. I'm a producer. I'm a musician. She says I'm outstanding at bowling, which I think I am.
My name is Rose Jungmi Cooper. I'm a singer, writer, director, actor, producer, poet, mother, grandmother. I'm just a human.
My name is Jordan Taylor. I'm a singer first. I can now call myself an actor, theater actor, and I can also call myself a director. I am a son. I am a lover. I am a brother. I am African American. I am an entertainer of all sorts of the world, and I would classify myself as being those things at this point.
The first moment that I really saw myself on stage would be my senior year of high school. My drama teacher, she came out her first year and said, "We're gonna do Once on This Island." I had never heard of this show, but it was my first time seeing a majority Black cast that was written that way. Not just, we opened up this casting to whoever. It was a show that was by and about Black people and their history.
I've seen like bits and pieces of myself in certain roles, and it had to be Celie from The Color Purple. The Color Purple is my favorite book. Alice Walker, yes. Alice Walker is my favorite writer and poet, and just the way that she writes characters really made me see myself in Celie, right? Someone who was kind of off drum and kind of like systematically pushed around, but then found themselves, right, deeply belonging to themselves, building their story from scratch, even when people try to take their most powerful things from them, their familiar relationships, their words, their power, right? And having the ability to take that moment and build for yourself. So Celie from The Color Purple all day.
But first time I see myself on stage, it's been so long ago, was Bus Stop. And I pretty much knew how I looked, how I wanted to present myself. It came into the point of how could I adapt to the character that I was playing.
The first time I was on stage, I was actually on stage in a role and I felt like this was me, was when I played Booker T. Washington in Ragtime.
The moment that I knew, not only that this was the character I wanted to be, but the moment that I felt like I'm actually a legit actor was during Sweat. When I auditioned for Sweat and when I was reading our read-through, I'm like, this is who I am.
My first role where I saw myself, in a sense, was the fairy godmother. Now, I grew up loving Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, and then I was delighted when Brandy and Whitney Houston remade it. That was a little bit later down the line. But that was the first time where I thought, okay, you can do this.
A relatable role I thought I've had is probably my recent show, Pipeline. The role that really hits close to me is Omari. I think if Omari was a real person, I think me and him would be best friends.
The first time I saw myself, or I could see myself doing theater or being in a play, was when I picked up my first monologue. The monologue that I did was Ain't I a Woman by Sojourner Truth. This is a speech she addressed to a member of an audience of white abolitionists, I believe. And she's this older woman talking about her time, obviously being enslaved, but presenting herself to this group of people to be seen, to be heard.
As far as a dream role, one of my idols, my favorite singers is Donny Hathaway. If they ever did a story on his life, I feel in my heart that's something I would have to play. I feel like our people that we've looked up to, they need to be celebrated more, whether they're alive or no longer here.
I would love to be a part of the biopic of Lauryn Hill. I would really love to have her story be told through her lens. So as far as acting, my dream role has always been Lady Macbeth. She's problematic, but I think that's why I'm drawn to her.
I haven't done a musical. And most people are like, hey, you can sing. Now, people close to me like, he thinks it, but no, you got a voice to sing, Julie, go and sing. I haven't sung. I haven't done a musical on stage, so I want to, maybe that'd be my dream role. Like, hey, I want to show the people.
Obviously, the Color Purple is one. One that I came close to it was Rose in Fences. When I did Fabulation, I almost did Fences, but we couldn't get the rights to Fences. I've been working on a play that I have conceptually done. I just haven't made myself go to that next spot. That's semi-autobiographical. And so I have a role in mind, and one day I'll get there.
I think that a dream role is the show, my project that I'm doing now, Pipeline. She is exactly who I and my son are right now. If I wasn't directing it, I'd be in it.
My dream role right now is probably Eddie Kendricks from Ain't Too Proud. I grew up on The Temptations. I grew up on a lot of Motown music.
Maybe if I, like a James Earl Jones, something like that, you know what I mean? Like if there was like a Anthony Anderson pick or something like that.
Dream role, Hadestown. I really, really love that musical. Hamilton, I know everyone says Hamilton.
I want to be Cinderella.
Yeah.
Brandy Cinderella. Kiki Palmer Cinderella. That would be phenomenal.
My senior year, it was the last show that I was ever going to be able to audition for. And I gave what I felt was a really strong read and didn't get cast. The professor who was directing the show called me to his office and sat me down and said, I want you to know that you gave the best audition out of anyone, but I didn't feel that I could cast you because this role, you know, it's part of a family, and I just didn't think it would be believable if you were the only Black person in the family. And that really gutted me and kind of took the bottom out of a lot of my dreams. And looking back as an adult sent me into kind of a spiral as a young adult in terms of my career, because rejection is the name of the game. When you do theater, you have to build up a thick skin.
When I proposed Fabulation, a show with a mostly Black cast, I was told by multiple people, producers, directors, other actors in town, we try to get Black people and we can't ever get anybody because we can't find any. We say that we're inclusive and they don't come. The whole point of we say that we're inclusive just tells me that they don't understand the answer. It's not what you say, it's what you do. I had to do the work. You can say that the door is open, but if you don't make it clear that that door is open and not just unlocked, but open, if you don't push through that door and if you don't open that door, go out and go to the street and see who's out there to include them, if you've been non-inclusive for years and decades, and you know it, and everybody else knows it, but you don't do anything about it, then no, you're not diverse, you're not inclusive. You just made a sign on the door that says, hey, if you want to come in, the door's unlocked.
It's tough because it's like you think you are in an environment where you can be fully seen without the critique of like maybe through the lenses of like race.
I even experiencing that, like being told to upplay my Blackness, right? And even like that from people that I kind of trust, right? And I know they meant nothing by it, right? But this is how like negative effects can happen passively.
Colorism and size discrimination, not being Black enough or too Black. Turn it up, turn it down. Tone it up, tone it down. Put on a straight wig, a curly wig. We want diversity. Okay, cool, I'll be there. But you're a little bit too diverse. It feels like Michael Jackson, you can't win.
I think honestly, the biggest adversity that I've noticed is the lack of like strong roles for men of color.
It was this February actually, when I was getting these whole suggestions and corrections. You know, I was a whole different person back then. I felt like I couldn't even really handle correction that well. So I said, am I not playing a good Martin Luther King? Am I gonna end up like being disrespectful if I play Martin Luther King? Like, I felt like when I was getting told that, and when I was getting like, do more of this and do less of that, I felt like that was just more of saying, you can't really play a Martin Luther King, but I only heard that in my ears.
So as far as theater, one of the major things that I've been hearing for years is that as far as African Americans, we don't have enough talent here. I think that's probably been the biggest. Also, when it comes down to roles, because I know that there is talent out there, it does get a little disheartening when certain people, as far as the stars of theater who are people of color, are the only ones to be called.
Coming into these communities alone as being the only Black person, I knew that I had to stand for myself because nobody else is going to stand for you in those spaces. And when standing for yourself, it can be really lonely. I do feel lonely in those spaces sometimes because I am the only one standing for myself.
Something that was familiar but disappointing that I saw is how much great talent there is that seems to be consistently relegated to being a supporting character or an ensemble character.
So my name is Odessa Carson, and I'm a Diversity, Equity, and Inclusivity Liaison for an Economic Development Corporation here in Michigan. And the way I feel about diversity, equity, and inclusion in film is that it's definitely gotten a little bit better over the years, but there should certainly be more that's done. I think that a lot of times people tend to forget how political it is. I think that we have definitely seen the conversation about DEI, diversity. It definitely got bigger after George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and the list goes on, right? And so I think that when it comes to diversity in film, I think those same people that are, wanting to put us in film because it's the popular thing should also be out there advocating for our rights, right? Advocating for social justice for Black and brown people and, all folks in between. So I think diversity in film is a beautiful thing, but I think we just still have a long ways to go.
The scene in Lansing, and in a lot of places, but since we're in Lansing, we'll talk about them. They approach this theater for all with a very white-centric gaze. They choose shows that in their mind have mass appeal, but mass appeal rarely, if ever, includes people of color. When a lot of people say mass appeal, the white is silent. They mean mass white appeal, or, mass middle class appeal. And they choose shows based on that. And on one hand, I understand those are your donors, though, so those are the people that you're trying to appeal to, the people that, give you money. And on that end, I understand it. But on the other end, when you say a show has mass appeal, broad commercial appeal, but there are no parts for people of color, or any other sort of marginalized person, it gives that same message of, you don't belong here.
It's kind of like one of those Tonight Show entertainers where one side of their body is painted to be a woman and the other side is painted to be a man, and they do a little dance and they're like, oh wow, it's both sides. This particular theater and others will play one side of the camera, and then behind the scenes they're doing something else. We will say that we are racially and gender and whatever inclusive, and we'll give you a crumb, but we will not allow you to sit and eat at the table.
People, they don't really take Black theater seriously nowadays, and that's still what they did, a long time ago. And so what we need to start doing as a community is we need to start showing that we've already shown them. But we could say, like, Black theater is not only this, it's more than just Black people singing and dancing on stage. It's what really hits our hearts.
It can be better. We are not a monolith, okay? There's no, and I believe this, there's no one way to be Black. You can't tell me in this diaspora we all look alike. Like, we all have the same experience.
As far as where I see the future, I would like to know who is investing their time and money into honestly making a change.
Well, how long did it take for our ancestors to get to the point where we are allowed to vote? So, and they're trying to take it away now, but as far as diversity in the arts, there's always something that slows the train down.
Diversity is not equity. Equity is not diversity. When we think about like how these roles were written, not including the totality of a person, we kind of get the same cookie cutter thing over and over again, right? It's like the saying that we have within the Black community, right? We have skin folk and we have kinfolk, right? Our skin folk are just gonna be the people holding the place, right? But our kinfolk are the people that's gonna push and create space, right? Challenge the norms. So when we talk about diversity and equity, I want to see equity in the theater community, right? I want to see roles that are written by Black youth, left and right, queer Black youth, queer trans Black youth. I want to see the whole spectrum of Black people writing plays that need to be created in the same way that we had Tyler Perry create a whole new genre, right? Or not even create a whole new genre. He brought a whole new genre of like theater to the public eye.
I hope that in the future that the representation doesn't happen only because of a huge event in life has happened. I hope that it comes out of because we want to do this and we want to stand for this and we want to represent this, not because they feel the pressures of society.
They need more of us. That's really what it boils down to. There are so many strong stories of people of color.
Like in the musical Hairspray, once a month we have Negro Day. Yeah. When was that set in? The 60s? But why is it only that?
And say it how you want
Oh, good. Every day I have a morning message for my students. It's Ubuntu. It is a West African phrase, and it's been defined in many ways, but at its root, it's I am because we are. If I had a seat at the table, everybody's gonna eat. You know how to style hair? You're not our new hair and makeup, because we don't have enough wig makers, and we don't have enough, we don't have people who know how to deal with ethnic hair. You do filming, you're the next Tyler Perry, you're the next Spike Lee, you're the next Jordan Peele. Everybody eats.
I think inclusion, the door was always open. The effort tried to bring it in, but I always think that let's do more. Let's put it to the point where if this isn't happening right now, let's include this group and try to make them stronger. And we will all be stronger in the arts.
Bring in a variety of people. Black people are not a monolith. Women are not a monolith. Certain generations are not a monolith. When you sit down to plan a season, you should have a good cross-section of your community.
First, that will come with a power analysis. Looking at who has the power to make change happen. Looking at, too, who's deeply invested in the liberation of other folks, right? Who's deeply invested in creating a space where we can have a variety of shows, that we can attract new audiences and ever-changing audiences that also hold on to our main audience that we had before, right? It's not choosing to take a knee, but it's choosing to take a stand in the right place. And it looks like critically thinking about what are the power dynamics? How are those affecting people? It's not just saying, oh, I have a Black person on this table. Guess what? Being Black is not enough in 2023. Right? Just holding a space that happens to be free is not enough. But to innovate that space, to come into that space and say, hey, I'm here to share power. I'm not here to take anything from you, but I'm here to build collectively. And yeah, sometimes that looks like us saying, hey, you know what, this is not working this way. We've done this for X amount of years, but guess what? It's time to experiment and innovate, because these are the reasons why these old, not these old timey things, but these things who are very much stuck in tradition, stuck in their ways of how things they have to do all these things. They're slowly dying because they don't innovate with the time. We had the Harlem Renaissance, we had the Chitlin Circuit. We already had our own spaces, right? But we had those amazing stories that kept our whole community coming. Why can't we build those things in tandem with what already exists?
Every BIPOC, if they can see something so well, there could be more opportunities for more kids like me, people of color. There could be more opportunities for them to shine their light, and for them to really be exposed to Black theater.
Outreach. We need to be better at going to these schools. There are kids, there are teenagers out here who want to do what we're doing. We're doing it because we have the passion for it. And I feel like a conversation needs to be had when it comes down to how is theater being represented to the younger generation behind.
How are you really outsourcing and doing a thorough search for diverse perspective, diverse experience, diverse voices, new talent? I would probably make an effort on those decision making.
Let's throw out the rule book that we've been working with, because it's built-in biased. And one of the things that I actually got called out for with Fabulation was about all of the new faces that they saw, which is so counterproductive to growth. Let's have at least half of your production be somebody that hasn't been in every show that comes on this stage, in this next group, with this next group of people. Because the only way you're going to get new faces is to get new faces, to bring those new faces in, to reach out to those communities, to ask to find those actors.
See, that's tough, because I don't feel like you can demand these things. I know what the ask would be. The ask would be that somebody knew that there's new blood, and they're like, hey, I'm like, hey, bring your ideas. Bring me your ideas. Let's talk about them. Let's sit down. Let's have a conversation about them. Let's push your ethnicity. Let's push your history. Bring that to the table.
I would try to implement more outreach. Keep saying that there isn't any Black talent out there, but the people who are saying these things only know a select 5 Black people in the community. And it's like, we can't always be the spokesperson. We can't always be the only people doing the shows. And we can't be the only ones doing the outreach.
Dear Black theater artists of the future, thank you for sticking with it. I know that if you're on that stage, it's because you have a story to tell. Whether it's a story that you want to tell to the world or to yourself, I don't know. But your story is important, and your story makes up the fabric of the story of humanity.
My dear future actor, my dear future director, let's hope that you got here by not letting somebody tell you that you didn't belong here, because you belong. If your role is something that wasn't written for a Black person, bravo. You've stepped into the role that you need to be in. If your role is more Black trauma, build on that experience. Think about what you can do to make your next experience be about the Black life you actually live. Because it's time to drop all these traumatic roles and see what we can develop that reflects our real life.
So what I'm gonna say to the future of Black lesbians in Lansing around the world: know yourself deeply. Look back to the Josephine Bakers. Look back to the Toussaint Louvertures. Look back to to compromise for what reason? Eartha Kitt's, right? Just Josephine Bakers, the people who wrote and not only documented, right, but they innovated those stories in ways that are still so intrinsic to every piece of art that we have here.
It is Good Morning Artists, or Beloved Artists. Today's going to be a wonderful day because you're here. Hopefully you came ready to learn, to listen, and to lead. This is the best. You are the best class in the world. I believe that you are wonderfully gifted and smart to be amazing. Shine on, Hall Stars, because that's what I call my students. Ubuntu. I am because we are. I believe in you. Love. Put that where you need it, on your head, on your heart, or wherever you might need it. Love, Miss Hall.
Shine your light. Don't be ashamed of whatever character you're gonna play. You know, be yourself if you want to not only look good, but also feel good while playing it.
Take up space and don't apologize for the space. And when you can't find the space, make the space.
Keep going. In life, we all have our challenges, and it gets terribly hard. And of course, with life, that can distract you from doing what you really love to do.
Keep trying, keep doing, keep creating. Let no obstacles be in your way. Perform, do the arts, direct. You be the one that started. If there's nothing there for us, then you create and start it and let it flourish.
They will try to silence you, and don't let that happen.
You are important. Your story is important. The world needs to hear you. Don't shrink yourself to fit what people tell you is the norm. Theater is all about breaking those norms. So go and be your authentic self. Get out there, tell your story. People will want to hear it because there's more people that agree with you than that don't, and you'll be surprised to hear it.
Would that be the same advice you would give yourself, your younger self?
Absolutely.
Never limited to any circumstance. To be young, gifted, and Black. It's the smile on top of the mountaintop to the strength which come from my hills. I look to the hills which come my straight on. The strength is a lighthouse, the light that I'm in. I live out my light out. By giving art, imitating the very life that I live in, a life that I give. I wasn't born in stillness. Wasn't born in a simple quiet, but even through the chaos, we still reign, create peace. See, it reigns on the righteous, the just and the unjust, and justice is still fought with the very voices we use that you try to silence. You can't silence us. You will never silence us. We will smile in the face of adversity because our courage is more courageous than anything you've ever seen. And the eyewitness is more than just an eye statement, but I have claimed that I am here. We are here to stay. To be young, gifted, and black isn't a statement. Young, gifted, and black isn't a desire. Young, gifted, and black isn't a mantra. Young, gifted, and black is a lifestyle. And we welcome you to our livelihood.